Hello, guys, and welcome to my first ever YouTube video. And today the Holocons have not opened, so I am going to be ranking my first. I'm going to be ranking my own opinions of all 11, I believe, of the Star Wars films. And now, don't get me wrong, I am still like most of you, and I was not a big fan of the sequels. But anyway, stop procrastinating. Without further ado, let's get into it. So starting off today with episode 2, Attack of the Clones. I did quite enjoy this film, although it is not really as good as some of the films we have coming up. For example, like Revenge of the Sith, you got Empire Strikes Back, and The Phantom Menace. I know you guys are going to kill me for that, but I did like The Phantom Menace. I think that the whole aspect of Camino, the cloners, was I feel like there was a lot of very interesting aspects about this film, but it genuinely just felt really similar, if not a little bit too similar to it. I mean, the whole plot is someone wants Padme dead, and then it's sort of like they're trying to backtrack it all the way until they find out that Count Dooku is fully behind it, and then his Sith Master is behind it, aka Darth Sidious. Um, anyway, I think the fight between Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin was broken up into three subduels. Never, didn't really like that part that much, but I find it amazing how they were able to use computer-generated images, especially in that time, 2001, to actually be able to create Yoda. Because the whole fight between him and Dooku was fully CGI. I mean, there's a lot like some of the puppets going to do that anyway. Um, I think that duel sort of made it for me, but still, it's not really my favorite. So just because of that duel, I'm going to put it into B tier, and that's me being nice. I might move it back down to C tier further in. Right, here is, in my opinion, the absolute best Star Wars film we have ever gotten. Revenge of the Sith, and I know a lot of you are definitely going to agree with me. I mean, is there really even a question about this? Straight away, S tier. You know what? I think it's only right that we give this one um, I think it's only right. I think it's only right that it actually just is given S tier on its own because I don't really think any of the others really are at the same level. So I'm actually going to add a row above S tier, and I'm going to make it gold and all that. Anyway, um, the best Star Wars film we have ever gotten. Anyway, God damn, I made a mistake there. Sorry, guys. This is my first ever time using this, so I'm going to be a little bit slower. Anyway, I'm going to create the S tier. Anyway, so yeah, I think that everything about Star Wars Episode 5, Empire Strikes Back was absolutely sensational. It is definitely my favourite thing. Cloud City, although once again was not my favourite duel, I think it was actually quite good. And it's definitely obvious why it should be at number one. I mean, I am your father. Luke, I am your father. Is still one of the most iconic ever ever lines in all of cinema. So I think it's only right for it to go in its own league, the best Star Wars film we have ever gotten. Anyway, now on to its successor, Return of the Jedi. I did love this film. I think the Jabba's sail barge, not saying the Princess Leia stuff was alright. I mean, I was not a fan of that. Because then again, I just don't really care for that sort of stuff. I want to watch a good action sci-fi film. Though it was, I do think that the sail barge scene with Luke getting his green lightsaber was absolutely amazing. I think most of this film was absolutely amazing, especially Anakin redeeming himself. And I think it was a really great way to end off the original trilogy. Not as good as the best Star Wars film we have ever gotten, but I do love it. So I'm definitely going to put it in A tier. It's definitely above Attack of the Clones. I'm gonna keep it in A tier for now. I might move it up later on. Anyway, on to my second favorite Star Wars film, Revenge of the Sith. Now, I think this one was actually the best one out of all the prequels. Unlike most people, I actually quite didn't like Jar Jar, and I think that it was a really, it just thought it was in general really great. I loved when General Grievous for the first time pulled out all four of his lightsabers. I think that was insane. The fight between Count Dooku, Anakin, and Obi-Wan for the second time when they're trying to rescue the Chancellor. Well, they're secretly Darth Sidious. Was absolutely amazing. I think it is definitely an amazing film, and like I said, my second favorite Star Wars film, just in general. So I'm definitely putting it up in S. Anyway, now on to Rogue One, a Star Wars story. Oh, sorry, I actually picked up Solo there. It is definitely the better out of the two Star Wars stories we have gotten so far between Rogue One and Solo. And I definitely think that all of the plans about the Death Star and everything about that was just absolutely phenomenal. Sorry about the voice crack there. But I think the whole film was great. It's not necessarily big characters that you really want to, that you know will live forever. It's normal people making a sacrifice, and it shows the true brutality of the Empire and how it wants to crush anyone for freedom. And I find it amazing they gave us so many great characters. I mean, they gave us Saw Gerrera, which was expanded a bit on in Rebels and Clone Wars. Then we also got, sorry, um, then we also got characters such as Andor, who got his own two-season show, and I haven't watched the second season yet, but I've heard it's absolutely phenomenal. So I do love this film, and I know people will be mad at me about this, but I'm putting it on the same level as Return of the Jedi. Oh, sorry. Trackpad wasn't working there. Anyway, now on to Solo, a Star Wars story. Did not like this that much. Probably one of my least favorite out of all these films. I mean, I'm not even gonna give the sequels a chance. I'd say probably The Rise of Skywalker was my favorite sequel. I know, burned down my house with pitchforks and torches. Anyway, though, I think Solo: A Star Wars Story was not exactly the best. I like the fact they tried to give us some backstory into Star Wars. Some of the dialogue at the end wasn't great. Some of the dialogue just in general wasn't great. But if I'm being honest, I did, it sort of got my blood boiling, and I was so excited when I saw Maul finally come back will have his cameo in Solo. And that was just amazing for me. I loved that, my younger self. So for that, and I thought it was alright to give him his own a bit of his own storyline. So I'm gonna put it in C. I genuinely liked Attack of the Clones more than I liked this, but also no Star Wars story. But if I'm being honest, I would definitely put Attack of the Clones above it every day. Now it is time to move on to the sequels, and I'll try not to use any bad language. Anyway, The Force Awakens. I think when it first came out in cinemas and I first saw it, it was quite a good idea. I think it had a lot going for it. People have been wanting to do it. Disney had a massive budget, and I think that they really stood a chance at making it a good film. I'm not saying any of the actors are bad. I'm not saying any of what they did was bad. I'm not having a go at Kathleen Kennedy. But I feel like ever since she took over, I mean, the sequels weren't really great, and I think she didn't really do that much good stuff for Star Wars, as illustrated by the sequels. I'm not saying Daisy Ridley was a bad actress to play Rey. I'm not saying Kylo Ren wasn't a good villain. But I feel like, especially The Last Jedi, they weren't really at the level I thought they should have been with Disney's budget. I mean, I compare the Last Jedi to the amount of respect I have for the Matrix Four. They should not have made a fourth one. I think they just were sapping for money. Anyway, so yeah, sorry, I went off topic there. The Force Awakens. I genuinely think this is probably middle. Like I said, Rise of Skywalker is my favorite out of the sequels, but The Force Awakens was definitely a nice aspect. But I feel like what they tried to do with it. So, in my opinion, I just think the place Rey grows up on, they basically copy and pasted Luke being on Tatooine with her being on her sand planet. And then I think that in The Last Jedi, the salt grounded planet was basically Hoth. And and to put it simply, I know I'm saying basically a lot, but I'll say to put it simply, I think that they had a lot of opportunities. They had so many great actors, so much great stuff, so much money in their name. They just didn't have the right choreography. They didn't have the right stuff. I know there's a reason behind the choreography, which I won't go in depth to now. There'll be a separate video. But anyway, that's why for this, I'm definitely going to put it on the same level as Solo as Star Wars story, but I'm still not putting it on the same level of Attack of the Clones. Anyway, time for the worst Star Wars film ever to be made. I'm not saying Mark Hamill is a bad actor. He is an insanely good actor, and I've always loved his work. But it was just terrible. I think that Ryan Johnson sort of, I mean, he not only in that movie he not only humiliated Hux, he ruined Snoke, and he couldn't. And I think they should have kept Snoke as the big villain. I don't think they should have tried to bring Palpatine back. And if I'm being honest, I think it was just, I think that he absolutely ruined the chances that the sequel trilogy had. So for that, I'm actually gonna have to create a whole new tier. I'm gonna add a row below, and I'm gonna do it in. Just gonna do it in blue. No, I'm gonna change it back to that. Yeah, green. No, red. Anyway, now that's sorted. I'm gonna go down to this row below and just go. No, I'm not gonna do that. I'd rather watch paint dry. Here we go. And this is exactly where The Last Jedi deserves. Horrible, and I think in this, no offense to Daisy Ridley, I just think the way they wrote her character, she was a bit of a Mary Sue. I mean, Anakin got his arm chopped off for his character development. Luke got his hand chopped off for his character development. Rey just got her lightsaber broken. I don't really think that's the right way to go. But I could roll on for a whole video about how much I hate Return of the Jedi. But anyway, now I'm on to The Rise of Skywalker, my favourite out of the sequel films. And I am actually, before I give my explanation, I'm going to put it in B right next to Attack of the Clones. So in The Rise of Skywalker, I understand that most people hate it because I felt like it was a bit of a cash grab to go and bring Sidious back, and I think that Ryan Johnson sort of ruined it. I know I said that a lot. So the actor that then took over was trying to save what he could, do what he could to try and make it a successful film. And I think he did quite well. I like the cracks that Kylo Ren got in his mask, thanks to him, becoming, thanks to a Sith alchemist who put those marks on there, for those of you who didn't know. And I think that his scene with the Mustafar is quite good, although where he basically catches them on his blade at the start, backhand, that's not how a lightsaber works. It's a straight beam of light. It does not work that way. But anyway, sorry, I'm going off topic again. I think it was better than The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi, but I do not think it's on the same level as, per se, Return of the Jedi, Rogue One, Star Wars, Revenge of the Sith, or definitely not The Empire Strikes Back. Anyway, time for A New Hope. This film absolutely influenced my child. This has influenced me a lot, and it is still to this day one of my favorite films of all time. I could never replace it no matter what, because it's just been such a big impact on my life. The whole introduction to Star Wars, which has now led me to creating this channel and everything, and to me becoming a massive fan, it all started it, and it did it so well. It was genuinely incredible. So actually, despite what other people think, I'm definitely going to put it in S tier. Because just think about it, it created the characters so well. And if I'm being honest, I agree that maybe the lines for Vader weren't as well done as they would have been, as they are in the later two films. But I still think it was amazing. It defined my childhood, and it was absolutely an insane film. I'm sorry, I keep on going off topic. Anyway, looks like no film's going in D today. Episode 1, and this is The Phantom Menace. And I know a lot of you are going to hate me for this, but I actually loved The Phantom Menace. I think it showed a great way to show how politically involved the Jedi had become by that time in their timeline. And I just think that it was a great way to write them. And especially, I bet in 1999, when Darth Maul ignited his second blade on his lightsaber, and he just showed the horns and his red and black face, well, the Zybrack face, I think everyone must have held their breath for like until they started seeing him in combat, and then they must have all just been incredibly excited. And I think it was really good. I think Ray Park did a great job doing the fight, and I think the political side was great. But I know that there were some aspects I wasn't really a big fan for the kind of comedy they would had in it. Um, but I think it was a really good. I think it was a really good way to start off the prequels. That is episode 1, and I'll put it here. Anyway, guys, this is what I think is my favorite. This is my personal listing of all of the Star Wars films, from the worst being The Last Jedi and the best being The Empire Strikes Back. Thank you guys for listening. If you enjoyed this video, I'm gonna do a lot more what ifs and why aren't theirs on this channel. For example, one that's coming up, I'll just leak a little bit of information because this isn't really going to be a secret for long. Why aren't more Geonosians Jedi? Or why do we never see them around the galaxy anywhere other than Geonosis? But anyway, thank you guys for listening. I hope you really enjoyed this video, and subscribe if you liked it, drop a like, or maybe just drop a comment. I will read all of them at the time being because I have 0 followers at the time of this video. Anyway, thank you guys, and I'll see you in the next one.